Welcome to ISRA League's Grand Touring Championship, brought to you by Z1 Simwheel. This is Race 10, the Blue Ridge 65 at VIR. I'm Daniel Quaroni, and with me in the announcing booth are Anthony Muniz.
Great to be back with you guys.
And Brian Carey.
Good to be back with you guys.
In a moment, we'll take a look at the standings after the race at Road America and see where we are. David Serrois still leading in LMP, and he's widening the gap to Mark Payne. It's now 17 points down. The real interesting stuff here is from John Kuzlin down to Mike Kelly, 75, 75, and 78. So 4th through 6th are hotly contested. In GT1, Timothy Stoll has easily locked up the championship, I'm sure. Gilles Moret trailing by 70 points. 3rd and 4th there, pretty close between Marty Jeffries and Evgeny Garanin. And Don Hunter, well, he's pretty safe there himself, but the most interesting championship still running is in GT2 with James Cullen. Todd Carver in 2nd, just 1 point down. Wyatt Foster, unfortunately missing so many races, but having good results when he does race, is in contention for 3rd, but we'll see how he is able to hold that. Now, Brian, take us around the map.
All right, Virginia International Raceway. The full course is 3.27 miles, 17 turns. Notable turns, turn 4 known as left hook, because most drivers, if they're not careful, it will knock you out. Coming up the hill, the climbing S's, down the hill again into Oak Tree, which is turn 12, because there is a very large oak tree at the apex of that corner. Up the long back straightaway, down to Roller Coaster, not just in 1975 the Ohio players hit, a very difficult corner here at VIR. And then turn 17 is Hog Pen, a very fast, blind, downhill corner with a ton of runoff on the exit. You get Hog Pen wrong, you won't be able to rejoin the track for at least 20 seconds. That's how much grass and exit area there is there.
Well, VIR is a very narrow track and a very twisty track. The time difference between the GT1 and GT2 cars was almost non-existent, but the real trick here is going to be those LMPs getting around them, since there is that very long back straight and that fairly long front straight, and all the rest is nearly single-file twisty section. So it's going to require a lot of patience from everyone today.
Yeah, exactly, Dan. Basically, with this track here, the biggest passing areas, there's 2 very long straightaways going up the climbing Essence into turn 9 and on the long back straightaway into turn 14. Both of those areas, especially coming off turn 12, Oak Tree going down the back straightaway, both the GTs and the Corvettes in particular have extremely good traction coming off there. So a typical way for an LMP to get past another car is to get a better exit and get a run off him, even though he's not going to be faster down the straightaway. Here at VIR, as you can see the cars going through Oak Tree right now, that's not possible, and LMPs will have a heck of a time getting around the slower cars, because there's not a lot of places where there's enough room to get by.
You can see the Corvettes gapping the field, the LMP field, in order to get a safer, cleaner start. We're heading down the end of the back straight.
While we're waiting for these guys to get to the start-finish line, why don't we run down the qualifying standings real quick. For LMP, we have David Serrois, or no, actually, Chris Dameron Jr., my mistake. Yep, taking the qualifying time with a 1:35.6. David Serrois just behind him with a 1:35.7. Brian Carey, Jeremy Burris, and Carlos Passos were the top 5.
And in GT1, we have Eric Palacio on pole, with Timothy Stoll 2nd, John Hunter in 3rd, John Middleton 4th, and Wyatt Foster in 5th.
Wyatt Foster actually running the Ford GT there, so as we're going to watch the green flag, we'll run down the Ford.
Julio Palacio in 5th. Wyatt Foster, yes, getting pole for GT2.
All right, let's watch the first corner here, make sure everyone gets around cleanly. I'll run down the Ford GT grid in just a moment here.
And you can see the Corvettes that are closing right in on the LMPs at the end of the straight, and that's why they gapped the LMP field.
Yeah, Mike Kelly, uncharacteristically, farther down the field, down in 11th place. He's won last 2 races before Road America, so a lot of good speed coming to this guy, but he's starting far back on the grid right now.
Well, he arrived at the track very late and only got about 2 or 3 qualifying laps in, and I think that's the reason right there.
All right, well, we're on board with Tim Stahl right now. As soon as we come off board, I'll run down quickly the top 5 of the Ford GTs, but you can see their positioning right now. This is a fantastic car to ride on board with. Now we're back on with Mike Kelly. So, all right, quickly the top 5
and
for
that's Chuck Chambliss spinning off at Oak Tree.
I missed that there. Okay, coming out the back straightaway here. The top 5 quickly for the GTs was Wyatt Foster actually mixing up with the Corvettes at pole position. The GTs with a 1 minute 44.7. As Mike Kelly makes a move on Coroni here. Looks like he's got the place going down in the roller coaster. And he's made it stick. Okay. Wyatt Foster, first place, pole position, 1 minute 44.7. Craig Hunter again over a second behind Wyatt Foster, 1 minute 45.8. Then Todd Carver, James Cullen, and James Mines. Todd Carver and James Cullen, remember, fighting for that GT championship in the Fords. But unlike our last race here, looks like we have a complete grid with full timing and scoring here, so you can follow along at the top of the screen. And man, that Corvette is roaring down the straightaway there. Timothy Stoll chasing down Julio Palacio right now.
And Matthew Voigt is not going to be able to make a move on the inside. He was looking for it, though. Looked like he was closing in pretty well there on Trevor, but Trevor Hill, he just ran out of steam.
You can see everyone's kind of taking it. Well, there's looks like was that Luke Poulin?
I think it was Andy Gooderson actually in the Ford GT.
Yep.
Just saw a flash of green there. So.
Yeah.
Ooh, Mike Kelly almost getting into the back of Jerry Morsdorf there.
Yeah, Mike being very brave going into Oak Tree. Looked like he had a run going into that corner on Jerry. Just didn't quite have the room to put his nose under and try and make a pass. But Mike definitely looks like he has the speed on the straights. You can see him drafting nicely off Morsdorf going down into the roller coaster. I think he'll have the pass going into the corner. And yep, Mike Kelly completes the pass. That'll move him up into 8th spot.
Yep.
As you notice, they're going into Oak Tree. Mike almost got into the back of Jerry, going through turn 11.
Oh, and Passos is going off-roading.
That was what you were talking about in our opening, Brian. You can see it took him. He lost a lot of positions there going off on that last corner.
I said 20 seconds. It might not be that much, but just because of the nature of the grass here, a lot of tracks will have gravel runoff before you get to the grass. Carlos stuck it up the inside of Coroni there. Pretty aggressive coming back on the track, but yeah, because the runoff area at VIR here is grass, not a lot of grip, and once you get off, you tend to go off for a very long way. You did a very good job to get back onto the track there. But as I was mentioning just before, with Mike Kelly coming up and Jerry Morsdorf going into Oak Tree, for all the cars, turn 11, which is the corner before Oak Tree there, the braking for all that is very, you're braking, turning, and braking all at the same time, so if you get a run on someone, it's very, very easy to misjudge that and sneak up behind them, miss your braking, or even just run wide there. It's a very, very difficult corner to get right, as hopefully we stick... Guess not. So hoping we're going to stay on board with Carlos there to get a good view of that corner as Brent Briles and Mike Kelly do a synchronized runoffs there. Oh, and they're both into the tires. Hopefully no damage for both of them, but...
Yeah, I was just about to point that out. There, if you go wide in Oak Tree, there is almost no runoff to allow you to get back on the track safely. We saw Mike go into... I couldn't catch Briles hit the tire wall too, but that is a dangerous corner if you get it wrong.
And I noticed actually when we were on board with Mike Kelly and watching his passes earlier that he does already have a little bit of damage to his rear wing.
Yeah, I caught that too.
Yeah, I mean, that was exactly the exact phenomenon I was talking about. Most of the corners here, tons of runoff. It's Oak Tree, which is probably the most, well, I'd say Hog Pen is probably the most difficult, but Oak Tree is probably the second most difficult corner to get right. Not only because it's very important, but very narrow there too, and there's not a lot of runoff.
And this is Carlos Passos trying to fight his way back to the front as we see him make his way around Quaroni. Remember, we saw him go off in Hog Pen, so he's trying to make up some of that time, but he's got a long ways to go, but still a long race to go as well.
Yeah, I caught a glimpse of Mike Kelly's car there. It does not look like it's at 100% right
oh,
now.
And
so
Hill, he's going to go into the tires. Oh, he just saved it.
Wow.
That is fantastic driving by Trevor Hill there to avoid running into anything.
Well, once again, that same spot where you said it's going to cost him a good 20 seconds.
That was another victim of hog pen.
Yep. Combined off time and loss of speed down the straight. Now, Trevor Hill, where did he start? Trevor Hill started 9th in class, and he's currently 9th at the moment. So I guess he made some spots up, but lost them once again. And I guess that is probably Andy Gooderson right back there.
I think that's, yep, that is Andy Gooderson and Tim McLeish right in front. So these three guys battling for 8th, 9th, and 10th in GT2. Looks like Trevor was quite a bit ahead of these guys, but after his off at Hogpen, he's going to have to try and get by, who is that? I just said it. Tim McLeish for 8th and see if he can't make his way back up to the front.
And a great onboard of those tires squealing.
There's a reverse view coming through Oak Tree here. See the first part of that turn 11 there, very tight as it is, and it really sets you up for the entry and exit of Oak Tree as Tim McLeish did not quite get it right and is just getting eaten up down the straightaway. I don't know if he's letting these guys go or not, but that might just be a poor exit out of Oak Tree. It's actually, it looks like that's the case because he's right back on it right now.
Well, if you get the power down too quickly coming out of Oak Tree, it's very easy to slide the car towards the right side of the track, and that's really going to make your top speed going on the back straight suffer. So that could be what we were seeing right there.
Yeah, it's one of those corners too. The entrance to it is kind of because of the actual Oak Tree, it's kind of blind, and you end up almost turning in too late most of the time. You really have to force yourself to turn yourself towards the apex before you think you need to turn.
And that was one of the things I found this race. I've always taken that way too wide, and you can really turn in much earlier than I ever thought you could possibly.
Yeah, I think it's because it's almost you have to it's going to look like you're going to turn into the actual Oak Tree barrier when in fact you're not going to, but it almost gives that sensation. And so that really catches a lot of drivers out, I think, where they could be turning in and getting a lot more speed coming out of that corner.
Yeah, and I don't have the data to back it up, but I found that driving around here, the car has a lot less grip at VIR than it does at other tracks. And you really have to kind of balance it out with your, especially in the slow corners in particular around here. A lot of them are off camber. A lot of them have differing camber, sometimes positive to negative, and it's really hard to get a good feel, especially this corner here. That was a nice pass by Carlos down the inside of Mooresdorf.
Yeah, Passo's taking that, braking very late going into the corner one. It did pay off. He made it stick, and so that was a good pass.
And he also kept it nice and tidy through the turn, so well done there.
Yeah, like I was just saying about the cameras there, some of these corners, I mean, you get a good braking area, but it's very easy to run wide if you don't, just because it's almost all the corners, Oak Tree in particular, just because it's so narrow, but pretty much all the corners, you kind of have to turn in and give yourself more of a margin than you would think otherwise from running the other tracks that we do. I mean, it might just be a, not an optical illusion, obviously, but a illusion of senses, if you will, that you think you have less grip than you actually do, but you see some of the Corvettes now. Julio Placio is right behind Stephen Clark in the 92 there. Julio Placio running third early in the race has dropped down behind Timothy Stoll, John Middleton, Gilles Moret, and Steve Clark, so he's down to 7th now. And you can see the trouble that Chuck Chambliss has in getting past these cars. Nearly 10 seconds a lot faster, well, maybe 8 seconds a lot faster on a good lap here, but Chambliss not being able to do anything about these guys until maybe the top of the hill here.
Yep, and what we can see, Chambliss does have a little bit of damage to that right side of his rear wing, so that's going to impede him even more, because these Corvettes on this tight track are hard enough to get around, and so with that extra damage slowing him down, it's going to be a proper mission for him to get by. I mean, he can draft off of them going on this back straight, but the Corvettes have such a higher speed, we should see them pull a fairly large gap relatively speaking, on Chambliss.
Yeah, he'll make it most of it up in the brake zone here. If he plays it right, then he'll be able to get around at least one of them on the front straight.
That's the thing with the front straight, though. Because of Hogpen is really a one-line corner, and sometimes it's a no-line corner when people go off the track. But basically, because of that, you really need, as an LMP, to time your run to get past the slower cars. I don't know what... That was another pass by Carlos Passos there along John Kuzlin, which is pretty strange place to get by someone, but he's able to make it stick.
This is the LMP class leaders right here. Damron in the white car, David Surwa in the blue and black. They're pretty much nose to tail right now. Looks like Surwa held up a little bit by Trevor Hill in that Ford GT. That's going to give Damron a gap going into the front straight.
So you'll be able to see it a little bit at the top there. It's really kind of hard to follow the actual gaps as they ebb and flow. A lot of tracks that we have here, because it's so tight, say at Road America, the last race we were at, you could gap, you'd have to get caught up behind traffic, lose 2 to 3 seconds a lap, gain 2 to 3 seconds a lap if you caught traffic or the other guy caught traffic in a bad area. But here, for some reason, because of the nature of the track, you're talking about losing 6-7 seconds a lap, and maybe even sometimes gaining 6 or 7 seconds a lap. So it's really a kind of a lot of yo-yoing going on in the gaps here.
Right. Well, we saw a great example with Chuck Chambliss a lap or two ago when he was stuck behind those 2 Corvettes, because there was he definitely has, those LMPs are much faster through the S's portion of this track, but he can't go at his 100% because of how long he was stuck behind those 2 GT cars. So I know he has some damage, so he's going to be a bit off pace anyways, but he's going to be stuck behind those cars for at least a good half a lap, so that's a lot of time lost when you think about it, especially if that happens multiple times over a race.
There's a good onboard view of Oak Tree there. That's looked a little easier than you saw. Jerry lost a lot of time going through there because he got a little squirrely part way through, but it gives you a good visual idea of what you have to deal with while braking and accelerating and trying to hit your marks and following another car all at the same time. Extremely difficult.
Yeah, I would by far say that this is by far the toughest circuit that the GTC will visit this season.
Yeah, we did have Lime Rock Park on the schedule, which in and of itself was not a difficult track to drive, but in multi-class racing, with the amount of cars that we have, being a very, very short lap, LMP's lapping in 38 seconds, when we had technical issues during the release earlier this year. Mike Kelly is off again. That looks like turn 1 he went off of, so Mike Kelly is struggling a little bit here at in the first 15 minutes of this race. Like I was saying, Lime Rock Park taken off the schedule. Unfortunately, we had to drop one race due to the technical issue. It was the week we were supposed to come here to VIR, but decided to let go of Lime Rock instead of VIR. That was the only other track that there was concerns about, extreme difficulty. Not that any track is easy, as we have a Corvette in the wall. It's red.
And it's John
looks
Middleton,
like John Middleton.
and it's a bad view there, but it doesn't look like he has any damage. Oh my gosh, that suspension probably got some damage now.
Yeah, decided he wanted to do a little rally driving before he rejoins. Oh, no. He's really doing some rally driving before he rejoins the track.
A little bit of Ken Block rally action going on there.
There's a reason Ken Block uses a specially modified Ford Focus and not a low-slung Corvette.
As they show Don Norris as Brian Carey goes flying around past him at Hogpen. Don a little slower through Hogpen than some of the other drivers, but staying on the track.
This rate, we're on board now with Ryan Huff as he's trying to battle with Stephen Clark for the 6th position in GT1. Looks like Clark was a little bit faster coming out of that first S section.
Jeez, just on board there coming into that corner, he seemed like he was a polar bear on ice skates, like no grip at all with all the torque of that Corvette.
Let's see if we can get a good shot of Brent's left-hand side. Looks like he's got some fairly significant damage. Yeah, I think that left side fender has taken some damage, so I'm sure that is holding him up quite a bit. Remember, he was off at Oak Tree, so I'm assuming that's where that damage came from.
Yeah, he's looking a little cross-eyed there. You can tell by the front lights pointed a little bit more to the right than it was supposed to, so... Now we're just getting word, I'm not sure exactly when it happened, but it looks like Jeremy Burris unfortunately has retired again. He was having some issues at this section of the track here. It looks like, not sure if it was compression down at the bottom of the hill or whatnot, but he damaged his car severely without actually contacting the wall. So pit crew down there working on it, trying to figure out what happened, but Burris is out of the race.
Yeah, I know there were some issues with that in practice. I think cars were bottoming out, going down into turn 11. And causing some issues, so that could be the case there. It looks like Brent Browse is going to take a peek on the outside of Lance Snyder. Oh yeah, he's got it. But yeah, going back to the problem with Jeremy Burris, I think there was an issue with grounding out going into turn 11, and that's broken something obviously on the bottom of his car.
Now I know coming from coming here in the Formula One, the Williams car here, that there was a lot of issues with it bottoming out coming through there. Going through practice, did a lot of laps in practice here. Did not have that issue in practice myself, but I know in the race that a lot of guys are bottoming out and causing various levels of damage, much like collision damage, but with the track on bottom of the car, which isn't exactly typical. And that is a fantastic camera shot of Mike Kelly all over Jerry Morsdorf as they go up into the climbing S's. And he's either passed him, oh there he is, he's passed him. Either that or he launched himself into the trees, and it looks like passing is what had happened there.
Well, that's great driving by Kelly to get himself up to 5th place after having the multiple offs so far in the race. Obviously he has some great pace here.
After being the star of Phillip Island with those crazy outside passes on turn 2, I guess Mike felt that he wasn't getting enough camera attention from the last race there, so he wanted to drop back and make a few more passes to get some love from the director, and it seems to be paying off for him right now. He's back up to 5th place. Yeah, as you can see there from Joe Jr., as he gave John Kuzel there a lot of room. The Ford GTs, all things being equal, are a lot faster down to the braking zone than the LMPs, but knowing that John would be able to outbrake them into the first corner anyway, he didn't want to force the issue, maybe cause a misjudgment by either one of them and cause a collision. So Joe very sensibly let John go by and is now resuming his battle with Dan Gralty. This is for 5th place in the Ford GTs.
Well, it seems to have ended up helping him in the end because he's caught right onto the back of Gralty's car. I think because we saw Gralty get past on the inside. I think that was what is that, NASCAR bend, and so he had to take a line that wasn't as fast as what Joe Jr. took. Although we can see Mike Kelly threading his way in between these guys. See how that will affect their race. Ooh, Gralty very close, dipping a tire off. That was probably a pretty scary moment there. He thought he might go launching himself into the tire wall.
Yeah, most tracks like that, like at that part of the corner, I mean, you get so used to like being on the edge of out of control all the time, and just a split second away from making a mistake, putting it into the wall, that a little tire off here and there doesn't seem to bother you as much as it would at other places.
Well, with Joe Jr. right behind him and Kelly making his way past, I'm sure he probably didn't even notice.
Well, this is the class lead here for the Corvettes, Don Hunter and Eric Blasio, fighting for position here. Don Hunter, our winner last week at Road America, a very dominant victory, and unfortunately due to a timing and scoring error, we did not see him very much at all during the race, so he's battling for first place again, trying to get 2 in a row.
Well, with that dominant lead that he had, I don't think we would have seen much of him to begin with.
Yeah, unfortunately, our director wouldn't find someone 30 seconds ahead all by himself all that interesting for you guys to watch. But here is something that is quite interesting. This is Daniel Corroni battling with Jerry Morsdorf for the 6th spot. You can see the speed difference between. You can see how fast Corroni was coming up on Morsdorf just because he was held up behind Daniel Gralti in that Ford GT, and you can hear Corroni feathering the throttle as they go through the S's, just because normally the LMPs are flat out, and they sneak by Gralti going into that corner. That was probably not the place that Gralti wanted them to pass, but all those drivers made it work, and there was no contact, so good job.
Yeah, just like we were saying before, the nature of the track here is most tracks, a situation like that, in a place like that, would not be a passing area, but because there's so few passing places on this track, you have to use any speed difference you can, and that's one area where the other cars are braking and the LMPs aren't as much, and if you're that close, you can make it work. Another thing that illustrated too is when they're coming up the hill there, the LMPs are so much faster coming up the hill than the other classes of cars, but even with that speed difference, there's nothing Jerry or Dan could really do about Gralti in the Ford GT, and probably in that stretch alone lost, maybe 2-3 seconds in the S's alone. As we get another look at Joe Jr. here, he's one of our part-time drivers. He hasn't been in all the races this year, but the ones he's been in, he's been showing very well, and he's doing very well to be sticking on the tail of Dan Gralti, who is one of the perennial front-runners in the Ford GT. So, good race so far for Joe Jr. Mike Kelly had brought himself within 2 seconds of John Kuzlin, but it looks like he's lost a little bit of time there as Stephen Clark has run wide at Oak Tree, and can he get back on the track?
And this was just ahead of what we were watching. There goes Kelly by, and he does get by, but he's losing lots of time waiting for the track to be clear. I saw that was another Corvette
that was
go by.
John Middleton right there.
I'm not sure, was that for position, or I'm sure it was.
Yes, John Middleton got by Stephen Clark for 6th.
Okay, yep.
And I'd just like to point out here too right now, in the HPD, the class leader David Sirois has a 20-second lead on Brian Carey. Unfortunately, Chris Dameron Jr., it looks like, has had a technical issue and has been disconnected from the race. In the Corvettes, Eric Blasio's got his lead to about 2 seconds over Don Hunter, so still pretty close there. And Wyatt Foster, 25 seconds ahead of Craig Hunter. We are
no surprise there. 25
minutes in, and as long as he can keep it on the track, which is by no means certain, he should be doing pretty well.
It's quite an unfortunate turn of events for Chris Dameron Jr. Of course, he was leading the race for basically the entire start until he had his technical issue, qualified on pole, so I'm sure that's not the result that he wanted to happen.
That's one of the natures of this type of racing in the ISRA GTC, and in iRacing in general, is a lot of the technical failures aren't modeled as accurately as they would necessarily be in real-world racing, but electrical issues that are very specific to this type of racing, such as connection issues. And I know a few races ago, Craig Hunter had to exit a race due to a thunderstorm locally when he was racing from Australia, which most of our runners are from North America, which did not have. So, I mean, things like that happen. It's racing. All different kinds of racing classes have their quirks and things to look for, and that's just the nature of the beast here in ISRA GTC.
Yep. Our cars generally can't break down from, let's say, an engine failure or something, but sim racing does have its own brand of failures, I guess you could say. And unfortunately, it does happen to everyone at some point.
Yeah, that damage Mike Kelly took is not slowing him down at all. He's really pulled in on John Kuzland here, and he's ready to attack. I think any corner now, the next few corners probably not a good place, but John Kuzland makes a little mistake, or doesn't take a corner absolutely perfect. I think Mike Kelly's going to pounce. He is on a mission right now.
Yeah, he definitely is. He's definitely got a very, very quick race pace. I mean, Kuzland is, he's a fast driver, but his car is currently in pristine condition, or as pristine as it can be, with 39 minutes left to go. And you can see Kelly's car fairly beat up for LMP, by LMP standards anyways, and he's still basically like a rocket ship. You can see he's right on the back of Kuzland coming out of the S's.
Now, unfortunately, we don't have any speed figures or anything like that in the car, but just knowing this, the compression right there before Oak Tree was causing problems with some guys, losing a lot of top speed. So although John Kuzland's car looks like it's in really good shape, I don't know if he's suffering from any of the issues that were caused by that compression. So
yep, there could be hidden damage under that car that we aren't seeing. But this is Kelly looking to drive right by Kuzland, and it looks like, I'm not sure if Kuzland kind of let up and let him by there or not, but
I don't
Kelly
think Kuzland had much of a choice there.
Yeah, Kelly will take fourth, and this is the battle with Joe Jr. and Daniel Gralti for fourth place, still raging on. You guys have been close for quite a few laps now.
Now, I know you notice at the top of the screen there we have 38 minutes left in the race. At about the 34-minute mark is when the LMPs can start making pit stops. That's about how long they can last in a full tank of gas. We've had yellow flags in a couple races so far this year, so fuel strategy might come into a play if that's the case there. You want to, maybe make your pit stop a little bit early and then benefit from a yellow flag later, because this is definitely a one-stop race for all classes of cars, I believe. I really apologize. I don't know a lot about fuel strategy for the Ford GTs and the Corvettes, but LMPs I'm all over. As you can see, Mike Kelly now right ahead of John Kuzland. But starting about 34-minute mark is when the LMPs can stop and make it the rest of the way. So in about 3 minutes time, we might see some shuffling of the standings as the pit stops start rolling through. There's an LMP way off the track. I think it was an LMP. It might have been a UFO or something. Nope, it was actually a Todd Carver in the Ford GT. He was so far off the track, I couldn't even tell what kind of car it was. That's another thing about this track, too. I'm going to go back to my experience doing laps here in the Williams FW31 is coming over, which is what turn it is, the Climbing S's turn 10, which is South Bend. It's a very, very fast downhill corner, and if you spin out at the top of that hill, which I've done before, you can literally spin across the grass right into the back straightaway at the South Paddock there, and and there's Trevor Hill. He's just, I don't know.
Much too speed going into the roller coaster. Apparently that was the corkscrew portion of the roller coaster that he was on.
Yeah, that was crazy. He is, unfortunately, the directors picked him off the track more than he's picked him on the track, so...
This is Mike Kelly challenging Carlos Passos for second. Well, it's not really a challenge anymore because Kelly is by, but Kelly is on a mission to get to the front despite that damage that car has taken.
Mike Kelly in third place now. At one point, if I recall correctly, he had dropped down to 11th place, I believe, in the early laps, and worked his way back up to third.
Yeah, he qualified, let me see, where did he qualify? He qualified in 11th. And he's worked his way up to third place after having, 2 or 3 offs with damage. That's very impressive.
For you Formula One fans out there, recall Jenson Button's classic Canadian Grand Prix win of last year, where basically he started near the front, he started near the middle, went to the back, moved up, went to the back, moved up again, and eventually won the race. And Mike Kelly seems to be trying to emulate that as much as he can here. He's got a long way to go to catch up with Brian Carey in second and David Sirois the leader, but as current pace is indicating, I'm not going to count him out just yet.
No. Well, he's 30 seconds off, 40 seconds off the leader, David Sirois, and then a good 25 off Brian Carey. So still plenty of time to make that time up, and if Sirois or Carey were to happen to make a mistake, that's and Kelly not, that's even more to his benefit.
Yeah, this is strictly a race. It's going to be a race of attrition right now. We've already lost Jeremy Burris and Chris Dameron Jr. from the front of the field here in LMP. Mark Payne, one of the perennial front runners, unfortunately did not make this race, so that's 3 of the top drivers out right now. And I mean, basically, we're almost at the halfway point of the race, and a lot of stuff has happened so far, and a lot of stuff will happen in the second half.
Also point out we are just reaching the 34 minutes left to go in the race, so that means LMP pit stop should be happening anytime now.
Yep, the window is definitely open, and one thing I mentioned, like Jerry Morsdorf here, he's behind 2 Corvettes right now. He'll probably get past them before the end of the lap here, so if he's got more fuel, I mean, by all means, he'll take that run, but one thing is the fuel strategy for the LMPs, especially if you have a window to work with, is because of the slower traffic, and especially because of a track like this, you're going to catch a group of cars.
That was, sorry, Brian, that was Julio Palacio off track right there. I know I saw Morsdorf looking to get by him going into that straight before turn 11. I don't know if there was any, I don't know if that had any connection, but Palacio way off track. And Quaroni now quite a bit closer to Morsdorf, and we saw that there was a bit of a gap, so there could be an incident there that allowed him to make some of that time back up.
Yeah, like I said, Jerry was stuck behind those guys going all the way through the S's, and even if Daniel was within 4 seconds, I could explain this right now. Yeah. And what I was saying is, if you're coming into the window where you can make it to the end on a pit stop, and you see there's a group of cars ahead of you, go into the pits, take your fuel, get out of the way and run some laps in clean air, because if you're in a battle with someone and they have to work their way through that traffic and you don't, you're talking, I mean, you can make 10 seconds up easily. As Joe Jr. is off, still on.
Saves it though.
That's that's some guys' lines. That's just you can go wide, swing in, you go on the grass, bounce off the tires, come back. I mean, it's as long as you keep going, anything works around VIR.
Those are the rally enthusiasts line through that corner.
That's the oh crap, please don't hit anything. Oh crap, okay, I'm good. Because the time from wheel off to potential incident is so long here. You plan it. Mm-hmm. As you can see, John Kuzlin catching up to Carlos Passos here, but I mean, there's so much time and it happens so slowly. It's almost embarrassing in your head. It's like, I'm going to crash. I'm not going to crash. I'm going to crash. And by the time you work all that out, 30 seconds have gone by, and you're still crashing, and you don't crash, and you feel embarrassed, and you get back on the track and continue racing. Hopefully no one saw, but unfortunately, thanks to YouTube, Z1 Simwheel, and ISRA, a lot of people are watching, and unfortunately we've seen a lot of people go off and making mistakes, and I don't want to pick on Trevor Hill, but he's made a lot of them. As David Serrois, the leader in LMP, is in the pits. As you can see, the pit crew hard at work right now. I can see them. I don't know if you can, but yep, no, they just went over the wall, so he's back on track.
He comes out in third, but obviously everyone else still yet to do their pit stops.
Mike Kelly also in the pits. I think I can just make out his car up there. This is Gilles Moret making his way into the pits. I think that is Trevor Hill in the pits. So everyone deciding to make this the time to make their one and only pit stops.
Yeah, well, Trevor Hill's been everywhere else in the track, so he might as well throw it into the pit lane as well and get some fresh rubber. Now, Brian Carey, when David Serrois went into the pits, was approximately 20 seconds behind David Serrois. So once he makes his pit stop and John Kuzlo makes his pit stop, we'll see how things shake out after that. But Brian Carey able to go one lap longer than these 2 other LMPs here, at least. Now, is that just me, or is David Serrois' front bent a little bit?
I didn't catch it on that. It looks pretty good to me. I don't think there's any major damage. And if you just compare it to what Kelly's driving with, if it is a little bent, I think he should be able to deal with it.
And Brian Carey's in the pits now. John Koosland continuing on, so it looks like he will take the lead. Yes, John Koosland has taken the lead, so going one lap longer than everyone else. Not sure how he was able to do that. Oh, and lead over as David Serrois retakes the lead, and John Koosland had the lead for approximately 300 meters there, which was, I don't know if that was enough to get him the bonus point for leading a lap, but...
I believe you have to cross the start-finish and get the pip.
Yeah, I'm not sure where how that worked out.
Yeah, he's showing the 2 dots on his car, so unfortunately, John, while he had first for hardly any time, it didn't get him enough to get that extra bonus point.
Yeah, anyways, I'm pretty sure he's going to have to pit at the end of this lap anyway, and the moment he would have ducked into the pits, Serrois would have been around him anyway, but John Koosland is one of our more consistent drivers in the series. He was third in the standings up until last week, so hopefully to get some good points, as Daniel Coroni really giving it some goose there coming out of the pits. Not sure where the expression giving it some goose came from, but a lot of throttle. There's Don Hunter right on the tail of Eric Palacio. Not sure if they've made pit stops yet or not. Like I say, the pit window for the GTs and the Corvettes I think is a little wider than the LMPs.
Yeah, the distance between these two guys has ebbed and flowed throughout this race. I think for the most part, Palacio's managed to stay in front, but Hunter's been on his tail at one point or another, as we see Koosland making his way into the pits. So that will probably knock him down to about 4th once Brian Carey and Mike Kelly circle back around. You can see Brian Carey just making his way by now.
As John Koosland's pit crew uses a force to jack him up on the jacks there and magically changes tires. I'm sure they are being changed and fuel is going in that car there, but we return now to the battle between Daniel Coroni and Jerry Morsdorf for 6th place.
And this is actually, before pit stops and all of that, we saw Morsdorf in front of Quaroni, so Quaroni was able to get by Morsdorf at some point. I'm not sure if it was through pit stops or what, but Quaroni able to make the pass.
See if Morsdorf can use the GT as a pick there. I believe that's Andy Gooderson in the number 13.
I think that's James Cullen in the, what was that, 56.
Yep, there's James Cullen, yep.
They are similar, yeah. Morsdorf not having enough to get by Cullen going into turn 1, so that's going to cost him some time on Quaroni.
I think John Koosland had some damage there that he was getting repaired, because that was an extremely long pit stop that he just took, and he's lost a position to Quaroni and Morsdorf, where I believe he was right ahead of them going into the pits. So
yeah, you're right, Brian. And you mentioned it earlier. We talked about the cars bottoming out. Going in on that straight into turn 11, and it's not really evident to us up here in the commentary booth, but obviously he did have some sort of damage that his crew could repair. Luckily they could repair it, but definitely cost him quite a bit of time.
Yeah, actually, I wasn't having my race there, just as a note from in the car there. I was not having any top speed issues or anything else, but and having no incidents up to this point. I had 6 or 7 seconds worth of optional damage to repair, which confused me as I hadn't hit anything yet, but I mean, I guess it was from that area, because I did take damage a little later on in the race that was more noticeable.
And here we can see the gap between Morsdorf and Quaroni growing quite a bit larger as Morsdorf gets stuck behind another GT car. So traffic really plays into these battles quite a bit. We'll have to see if Quaroni gets stuck, and can see, Morsdorf is still not able to find his way around Matthew Voigt in that Dirt Devil Ford GT. Looks like he'll be able to get around him going into turn 1, but he's definitely Quaroni's definitely been able to open up a gap. I think mostly just because of traffic right there, at least.
Yeah, that gap currently sitting at about 4 seconds. And Jeffrey's just letting Palacio by. That must have been, yep, that was for lapping.
Oh, his dust kept up by Palacio there as he went around, two wheels on the grass trying to get around him. Now, there's a note here. The gap between the leader, David Serrois, and Brian Carey has dropped to about 9 seconds now. Before the pit stop, it was sitting at about 20 seconds. So that's a huge gap reduction in only a short period of time.
And speaking of, there's Carey now, and we can see that there are a couple GT cars. So he'll have to negotiate his way around, and he'll get by that car very easily going into turn 1. So I'm not sure if, because that was a good 10 seconds that Carey made up on Serrois, so I'm not sure if traffic played into a part of that. That seems like quite a bit of time for just simply traffic to slow him down.
Well, I know from the last race that I didn't get any breaks in traffic with regards to the gap there. I always seem to be on the losing end of those lapping exchanges, so kind of good feeling to see gaps coming down as I'm working my way through the traffic here.
Also in that shot, we could see Don Hunter. He's still in second place for the GT1 class, but the leader, Eric Palacio, has pulled out 17 seconds over him. So that could be because of their pit strategy, but that was probably something that you could only do in sim racing, because I'm pretty sure Todd Carver would not be happy if he tried to do that in real life.
Yes, that was again, for those people out there on YouTube that are watching this race, this is not real life. It is real life, but these cars are done through the magic of iRacing, and stuff like that can happen. So if you're alarmed that a car just morphed through another car, calm down, deep breath.
Yep, it's not a ghost.
Don't want to like a War of the World situation, turning up. I mean, it's not real. Except it is real, very real. And that's, is that Julio? Yes, Julio is off at, I'm going to assume that's Oak Tree. Maybe not.
No, that's turn 1. Or 2. I'm sorry, no.
So that was coming out of the first set of the S's, I believe.
Yeah, that was...
they all look so similar.
Turn 5, it looks like.
Yeah, they all look so similar.
Yeah, it's when you're looking for the helicopter view, basically, the track looks like track and grass. And then the next corner looks like track and grass.
Yeah.
And then halfway around the lap, track and grass. And then eventually there's an oak tree, and then more track and grass.
They look like Julio Palacio able to get out of that spin in turn 5 without any damage, but he definitely lost quite a bit of time. And this we're looking at, and that is Marty Jeffries off.
Well, he was a lap down to Eric Palacio, so I think he was just letting him by.
Yep, so that is not a threat to Palacio. But this is the LMP class leader. We can see him making his way through traffic. The LMP behind him is Lance Snyder, but I believe he is now a lap down, so that's not for position.
Yes, David Serrois, being French-Canadian, very used to Montreal traffic, I assume, and if you can get through Montreal traffic at rush hour, you can pretty much get through any traffic in the world. That is a skill that only people from that part of the world really know. And just for a note there, about 30 years ago, there was a driver known as Gilles Villeneuve, one of the greats in F1 history, and people of that era who remember Gilles and his exploits all at some point think they can drive like him, and do at every opportunity. For those of you who had not had a chance to visit Montreal and are a driving and or trying not to die enthusiast, I suggest you go visit and try to drive through the main highway on the way through La Belle Province.
I think Gooderson having a bit of a twitch as he comes out of that corner. Looks like he's going to lose some time to Todd Carver. Haven't really seen much of these guys so far. Todd Carver is usually a big front runner in the GT2 class, currently running 4th. Andy Gooderson not on the same lap as him, so that battle isn't for position. But haven't really seen much of those guys so far this race.
Yeah, you notice that Andy Gooderson's running the number 23 this race because for some reason, I'm not going to name names, Daniel Gralti, but someone took his number as they entered the track here. So normally you see Andy in the 13, but this race he's running the 23.
Yeah, when it comes to Todd Carver, note from the pits, he was actually considering not running the race, just not feeling comfortable here at the track beforehand in practice, but ultimately decided to give it a go.
Yeah, and he's Todd Carver's running at 4th place right now, so
Yep.
not doing too bad there.
Yeah, I think this track presented a lot of challenges to a lot of drivers, and I really give him props for sticking it out, and he's having a great performance here today. 4th is nothing to be laughed at, so good job for him for pushing through any little problems that he was having and showing a good performance today.
Yeah, in fact, all the drivers out here so far are 18 minutes 50 seconds left, and I mean it's not an easy thing to drive around this track mistake-free, and I mean we have seen our offs, and I have been poking fun at some guys for going off. Trevor Hill, but I don't. He's going to hate me after this. But anyways, I mean, everyone's done a really good job in keeping their car mostly pointed in the right direction. A lot of other tracks here, be it the closeness to the walls or the aggressiveness of the drivers, a lot more drivers' races would have ended by now due to contact damage. But this hasn't been the case here, and everyone's been behaving extremely well considering the difficult conditions this track presents.
With not all that much time left to go, just under 18 minutes, why don't we run down the standings for you. Currently in LMP1, David Serwa still the race leader. Brian Carey being shown currently 11 or 12 seconds behind now. Mike Kelly in 3rd, but a good 37 seconds off the lead. So he's had a really strong push. He's made up a bit of time, but with 17 minutes and 30 seconds left, that's going to be a tough gap makeup. Carlos Passos currently running in 4th with Daniel Peroni in 5th. Gary Morsdorf just behind him. John Kuzlin and Lance Snyder are in 7th and 8th. Chuck Chambliss is currently running in 9th. Brent Bryles round out the top 10. For the GT1, Eric Palacio is currently the leader still. Don Hunter, we know we've seen them battling quite a bit earlier in the race. Palacio's pulled out a 16-second lead over Hunter, so there's a fairly big gap between those guys there. Timothy Stoll, who really been very, very dominant in the GT1 class, currently running in 3rd, a good 44 seconds off the lead. Gilles Moret and Julio Palacio round out the top 5. Marty Jeffries, John Middleton, Stephen Clark, and Ryan Huff and Jason Gordon are the top 10, but I believe Jason Gordon is off. I think Ryan Huff is being shown retired as well. And then for the GT2 class, Wyatt Foster, big surprise, currently the race leader with a good 48 seconds off of 2nd place of Craig Hunter. Todd Carver, who we were just speaking about, having a good performance in 3rd place. Good, minute and 30 seconds off or so of 1st place, but still good performance. As we look right here, this is a battle for 4th. Todd Carver and James Cullen right behind them.
Now, was that
our
Hunter
championship
off of the,
protagonist?
Oak Tree?
I think I saw another car off at Oak Tree. I didn't see who it was.
Yeah,
it looked like someone was nose into the tires.
Yeah, I missed who that was. But this is the.
I don't think it was Don Hunter because he's not losing all that much time to Eric Palacio. Looked
No,
like
Don
a yellow
Hunter's
car
40
down.
seconds down now, so that might have been him.
We'll have to keep an eye and see if Timothy Stoll manages to get by for 3rd place, because they're quite close now, so it could have been Don Hunter.
Yeah, but as this battle has been following here for about a lap now, this is James Cullen and Todd Carver, who are 1 point apart, I believe, maybe a little bit more than that, but really close in the Ford GT standings, and again, really close in the race here. So, while Wyatt Foster and Craig Hunter are kind of running away in the respective 1st and 2nd places, the championship battle is as close as it could possibly be right now.
Mm-hmm.
Just noticing on the left-hand side of the track there, it looked like they had some condo viewing areas climbing up the S's, and what a view that would be. A way to spend a racing weekend here at Virginia International Raceway. Imagine you'd be able to see a good portion of the track from way up there.
And I'm sure they charge much more than my salary would allow me to pay to stay there, too.
Yeah, but don't I know it? It looks like there was a car off. I want to say that was Todd Carver, but not that I want to say it was Todd Carver, but it looked like a Ford GT. Could have been Daniel Gralty, though. Yep,
there was looked like it had a bit of a white nose, so there's a number of Ford GTs that could be Todd Carver, James Cullen, Daniel Gralty. I think they all have white paint on the nose of that car, so...
Yeah, just judging by my call before where I had miscalled Trevor Hill being off the track there, calling it an LMP. That really could have been anyone, really. We did see out of the corner of our eye there, a car off down a hill somewhere. I don't know where he was. Possibly a car from the last race that was here that's just finally finding its way back to the track. This is a very close battle for third place here with Julio Palacio coming right up on Gilles Moret. Gilles puts 2 tires off going up into the climbing S's, and Julio, huge run on him, but not much he can do going through here. There's definitely one line through this part of the track. I know during the pre-race, going over the track map, talking about the corner we're coming up down the back straightaway here, which is a roller coaster. Just like to point out, which you guys have probably all known by watching this, especially onboard cameras, this entire track is a roller coaster. I mean, it's really fabulous to drive as Julio takes third place. A little bit of a how you doing there as he went by. That's another thing I'd like to point out too. I think that was more than anything, that was a because of the latency. Gilles Moret coming from Eastern Canada, Julio Palacio coming from not Eastern Canada. I honestly don't know where Julio's from. I apologize, Julio. But some of the latency issues you have there, sometimes you see a move like that, and it looked like Julio really gave him a little twitch there, but it probably just looked a little bit more severe than it actually was, as both guys got through it no problem. Really need to read some of these drivers' bios. I've raced with them for almost 2 full seasons now, and feel bad. I don't even know where Julio's from.
Georgia. He's from Georgia. There you go.
Alright, yep.
So Julio Palacio, hailing from the great state of Georgia.
The Peach State, I believe. Or something like that.
I believe you're right.
The fact that I'm Canadian and I know that worries me a little bit, but back to the race. Gilles Moret looks like he's going to try to take that place back from Julio if he can, but it looks like Julio is starting to eke out a little bit of a lead here. And that's not to say either one of them will not, stuff it into the barrier in the next lap or two, so anything can still happen. So Gilles not giving up yet, but making sure that he does make it to the end of the race. It's with about 10 minutes, 11 minutes left, it's a tight line to really navigate.
Yep. And fourth is a pretty good performance, especially on this challenging circuit. So definitely want to keep pushing, especially Palacio happens to make a mistake, but I'm sure he'll be pleased with a 4th place finish.
Unfortunately, one thing iRacing has not got a handle on is a actual post-race celebrations and champagne, which, I mean, you have to provide yourself, and should one of us win a race, I'm sure there'd be no problem in cracking a nice bottle of champagne and spraying it all over your computer, which probably would not be the best thing, but a great way to celebrate a victory.
Maybe if I win a championship and there's some prize money involved, then maybe I'll consider it.
Just kind of side note, I just had a thought in my head about winning a race, running upstairs while my wife is sleeping, and then just start spraying champagne everywhere. While hilarious, I'm pretty sure that would not go over well.
Well, you give it a shot and give us the full report. And here's John Koosland recovering from that long pit stop, finally catching up with Jerry Morsdorf running in 6th.
So it looks like there's a couple late battles developing between pretty much all of the classes. Looks like this is Daniel Gralty and
White Foster right up there.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if it must be putting a lap on him then.
Oh no, wait, White Foster's being shown in 4th.
Oh, you are right. So wow, the amazingly quick Wyatt Foster must have had pretty severe off to fall all the way back to 4th, because he had well over a minute lead.
And
over,
that's almost
Daniel
exactly
Gralty.
how far down he is on Craig Hunter, who's the current Ford GT leader.
Wow. So Craig Hunter now the Ford GT leader with a 15-second lead over Todd Carver. Craig Hunter, newcomer to the GTC series, but every race he's been in, he's had strong showings. I think he won the race at Phillip Island, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it might have been, I mentioned earlier that he had canceled out of Phillip Island, but I think that might have been Road America.
Oh, you're right.
Yep.
Yep. Well, he has won a race. That's the main point. So.
Fortunately, our full-time statistician has taken the day off, so we don't have all the information available that would normally, but...
Yes, that's who I'm going to blame my stupidity on, is our statistician. He's not here. So it's hard to do all of these things at once.
Alright, well, John Koosland right up on Jerry Morsdorf here, so it looks like another battle is ready to commence here for position, and see if John can use traffic to his advantage to help get around Jerry. Jerry only 4 seconds behind Daniel Quaroni for 5th place right now, so potential for Koosland and Morsdorf to pop themselves into the top 5 here.
Yeah, there's still 7 minutes left, so that's not loads of time, but there's still some time for these guys to not make any overly rash actions to try and get by each other. But there's traffic coming up here, so let's see if Koosland can't use that to his advantage.
He looks a little bit far back at the moment, but that'll close right up here. And Morsdorf potentially hugging a little bit too close to the back of Stoll, or yeah, that's Timothy Stoll. So he may not get a good run off the corner.
Yeah, this is a tough one because you have Tim Stoll in the Corvette trying to pass, looks like Todd Carver in the Ford GT, and then having 2 LMPs come up behind them. It's really no one really knows exactly what to do there, because normally the Ford GT would let the Corvette by, and normally the Corvette would let the LMP by, and then normally the Ford would let the LMPs by as well. And basically, if you just listen to me say all that, I mean, that must have sounded pretty confusing. You imagine what it's going through the head of a driver as he's trying to hold on to his car in VIR and figure all that out at once. Luckily, everyone made it through.
I think it calls for a dose of 3 wide myself.
Yeah, that's one thing I was noticing so far this race. Not enough 3 wide action here.
Oh, here we go. Here's a chance for it. Nope, maybe not. Almost had it.
Yeah, jeez. Sometimes our director just knows when to give us the candy and when not to. Likes to show us who's boss every now and then.
Yeah.
Oh, you haven't seen 3 wide racing? I'll show you some 3 wide racing.
Just a quick note I'd like to point out as we watch Morsdorf and Koosland make their way down the back straight. Wyatt Foster is now being shown the GT2 leader, so I'm guessing we had a little glitch with the timing and scoring.
Mm-hmm.
So Wyatt Foster is still a good minute over 2nd place.
Okay. All is right in the world once again.
It was either that, or maybe he just decided to drop a minute back behind everyone and give himself a challenge, and then bring his gap back up to a minute.
That could be.
Just as we got Jerry Morsdorf and John Kuzlin here in that battle we saw before, Chuck Chambliss and Lance Snyder. Little.
Oh, and Kuzlin's gonna make his way by in turn
Nice.
one. Great move.
Little shout out to Lance Snyder, meow, as may not get that reference, but if you do, then I'm sure at least one person will appreciate it. We just got under 4 minutes left here in the race, and just quick rundown of the positions. The LMP, we have David Savoie. Brian Carey had dropped back 18 seconds, and I can tell you, because that is me, I had an incident in the compression where essentially I was not able to get into 6th gear outside of the draft. I had lost about 20 kilometers an hour of top speed, which killed my lap times. Mike Kelly, 3rd place right now. Carlos Passos, 4th. Daniel Coroni, 5th. So you can see him just up the road there. The Corvettes, Eric Palacio, 32nd lead on Timothy Stahl. Julio Palacio, Gilles Moret, and John Middleton, the top 5. And then Wyatt Foster, a ridiculous lead over Craig Hunter. Todd Carver, James Cullen, and Daniel Grolty, again, rounding out the top 5 there. So as we come into the final 3 minutes, as you can see, this is the battle for 5th place in the LMP. John Kuzlin right on the tail of Daniel Coroni.
Yep, I wasn't so sure there was going to be a battle, but Quaroni got held up a little bit by that Ford GT, and that allowed Kuzlin to get right behind him. You can see Quaroni defending on the inside line, not giving Kuzlin any room going into turn 1. Only going to have a couple laps left, so Kuzlin's going to have to make a move here pretty quick.
Now, you may have questioned John Kuzlin's decision to pit for repairs there when there wasn't outwardly repairs, but if it had any effect on his top speed, he's making up for that right now, as he's almost clawed back to the position he had before. I don't think he'll catch Carlos Passos, who he was battling previously, but he might be able to salvage a 5th place out of this one.
There's also a really great run for Quaroni, who qualified in 10th, so he's moved up 5 places to get right. But in the and that is, who is that off? It's
John Middleton.
John Middleton. So yeah, we've seen him off.
Trying to screw us up.
We've seen him off a few times, so it doesn't look like he made any damage. And it looks like Quaroni was able to use John Middleton to get a fairly large gap on Kuzlin going down the back straight. So that's going to help keep him off. Looks like they're probably going to have 1 lap to go as they hit the start-finish line this time by.
Actually, no, I think there might be 2 laps there, because I'm pretty sure the leaders had already crossed.
Yep,
and,
you're right.
It would be one time for another lap.
You're right. Yep, it would be 1 lap if the leaders were crossing now. So this is another battle we've seen between Lance Snyder and Chuck Chambliss as they head down to Oak Tree. Chambliss is right on the back of Snyder. Yep, I thought he might duck to the inside to try and make a pass. I don't know if he'll have it, but see if they go side by side into the roller coaster. And Chambliss makes the pass. Great move.
Chuck Chambliss, another driver along with Jeremy Burris, who at least last season and this season consistently show speed and in the LMP, but unfortunately their finishing records aren't up to what they would expect, so it's good to see Chuck battling right to the end here as Kuzlin takes another bite of Coroni and got an LMP. You saw the sparks coming off of Coroni's car there. That's the compression we were talking about, and hopefully Daniel didn't take too much damage there, but that was a hard hit at the bottom of the car, and probably didn't feel too nice. As we're coming up to the 0 mark here, that is the end of the clock. So as soon as next time David Sirois crosses the line, that will be the checkered flag. And not sure where he is on the track, but he's 18 seconds ahead of Kerry right now. So looks like he's got this one well in hand. If they don't see it on camera, you should see it in the top. Oh, there he is right there, going through roller coaster and Hog Pen, and David Sirois back on the top step of the podium. Victory for, I think that's his, I want to say 3rd victory of the year, but again, I'm just guessing it's 3rd or 4th. He has a few.
Get our statistician back on that one.
There's Tim Stoll coming across the line for 2nd place in the Corvettes, locking that in there. You can see Brian Carey finishing 2nd in the LMP ahead of Mike Kelly. Yep, there's Mike coming across there, and here's Wyatt Foster, surprisingly taking the win for the Ford GTs. And I'm not correct. I don't know if any of you guys have the actual total results, but I'm pretty sure Wyatt finished well up there in the Corvettes as well. So he might have even taken a top 5 in the Corvettes, driving a Ford GT.
Yep, Wyatt Foster finished actually fairly far ahead. I think he made it up to...
Well, he was 12th overall.
Yep, so he finished ahead of Julio Palacio, who was 3rd in Corvettes. So that's in between the 2nd and 3rd place in GT1. I would expect nothing less from Wyatt Foster, actually.
Even still, that's a pretty impressive result for Foster there, too. I know that the Ford GTs are a little closer in pace to the Corvettes here, but I mean, wow. I mean, Julio Palacio is a darn fast driver, and so look at the standings here. Damn.
Well, unfortunately, Mark Payne missing out on this race and getting no points from it, so that just extends David Sirois' lead with another 25 points. Looking at the interesting part of the battle here, Mike Kelly and John Kuslin still close, 3 points apart. In GT1, Timothy Stoll, no big surprise, still dominating. And looking down into the middle, looks like Evgeny and Don Hunter are a little bit more separated, but still only by 6 points. And in GT2, still just 1 point separating Todd Carver and James Cullen, finishing 2nd and 3rd in this race. So that's the one to watch, I have to say.
Yeah, they've been battling in points and on track all season, and it's really come down to the wire, I think.
Well,
yeah,
this is race...
Wyatt can't.
So this is race 10, so we have, 6 more. Oh, well, thank you very much. There we go. So next race will be at Sebring at night, then Infineon, Brands Hatch, Watkins Glen, the Cup version, and then finally finishing up with our own Petite Le Mans at Road Atlanta.
Yeah, just looking at the schedule here, Sebring at night coming up next. Timothy Stoll actually has a chance to clinch the Corvette Championship there with a good result over Gilles Moret. He's already almost 3 full races of points ahead of him, so looking forward to that there. And Sebring night, unfortunately, I will not be able to make that race. I will be in the commentary booth commentating, and actually that'll be my first view of the race, so it'll be a good experience for me to do that. But looking forward to getting back on the track the week after that, or 2 weeks after that, at Infineon Raceway.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting one to commentate on. We'll have to see if we can actually see any of the cars. Well, as the cars all pull into the pits here and drivers step out, we'd like to thank all of you for watching from ISRA League and Z1 SimWheel. If you'd like to race with us, visit us at israleague.com and check out Z1 SimWheel at z1simwheel.com. I'm Daniel Quaroni, and I'd like to offer my compatriots here an opportunity to say goodbye. So, Anthony Muniz.
All right, thanks for having us. We had a great race today.
And
yeah, it was
Brian
a great
Carey.
race. Yeah, it was a great race, guys. Looking forward to the next one.
All right, thank you, and have a great night.